For centuries, the Vatican has projected divine power, marble halls glowing with centuries of wealth, priceless art guarded by silence, a state so sacred that even money bows to faith. At least, that's what we are meant to believe. Yet behind the spiritual glow lies something far more earthly. Debt. Billions in real-world financial obligations, and someone quiet, powerful, obsessively private stepped in to cover those cracks. The rumor began with a slip in a financial report from Europe's private banking sector. A line item showing Vatican liabilities suddenly moved off the balance sheets. Analysts noticed a shadowy investment group controlled by a family with no public presence taking its place. No interviews, no press releases, not even a public name. Just a single anonymous entity quietly becoming the Vatican's rescuer or owner. Why would a family with unimaginable wealth want the Holy See itself in their pocket? What do you gain by holding the IOUs of the Catholic Church, besides influence over 1.3 billion believers? This is not a story about religion. It's a story about the most powerful currency on earth, faith. And someone may be trying to buy it. The Vatican has an unusual financial heartbeat. Donations from the faithful, investments in global real estate, and a bank so secretive it has sparked decades of scandals and whispered conspiracies. When its balance sheet wobbles, the church does not announce a fundraiser. It looks for powerful friends who prefer the dark. This time, the help came from a single family office hidden behind layers of shell companies and lawyers who specialize in invisibility. No famous surname, no Forbes list, just a reputation passed through secured phone calls. If you need discretion, they are the destination. Auditors noticed something peculiar. This investor didn't demand collateral in land or gold or priceless art that could fill a museum. They asked for influence in Vatican-linked ventures, projects that shape communities, education, healthcare, and media. The arteries of belief. This wasn't just wealth stepping in to save a sacred institution. It felt like strategic placement, as if someone believed faith could be leveraged like stock. Records show a burst of anonymous benefactors funding restoration projects. Investment in Catholic media channels quietly shifted to new ownership. Even the Vatican's global outreach programs saw restructuring advised by consultants with no visible resume. Someone was rearranging the furniture inside the world's most spiritual empire, without ever stepping into the spotlight. Who is rich enough to bankroll religion and patient enough to stay silent about it? Before this mysterious family disappeared from public life, they were known by a different name. Not a household one, but whispered among old-world financiers who dealt in trust rather than headlines. Their empire began centuries ago, riding the tide of trade routes, precious metals, and clever alliances that outlived kings. Then something unusual happened. They vanished. One generation broke the chain of publicity. They dissolved public branches of their businesses, retreated from visible markets, and scrubbed their surname from nearly every directory, a digital disappearance long before the digital world existed. Traces of the lineage survive only in footnotes. Patron saints funded in secret. Donations to monasteries with no listed donor. Estates transferred to charities that dissolved the next year. A ghostly generosity. A vanishing blueprint. That silence protected them while their wealth multiplied underground, through private lending, through sovereign bonds, through emergency bailouts to leaders who promised nothing except loyalty. When the Vatican needed a lifeline, this dynasty stepped in like it had been waiting for that moment all along. Not heroes, not villains, just architects of influence who prefer to work where the lights don't reach. The church gained a savior. The family gained a claim. In this story, the holiest power on earth may now have shareholders. Next, we uncover the Vatican's biggest financial secret and how someone quietly took control of it. The world saw smoke rising from the Vatican chimneys, signaling new popes, new eras, new beginnings. Hidden in the marble shadows, a ticking financial time bomb threatened to silence those chimneys forever. In the early 20th century, the church faced devastating monetary collapse, territories lost, wealth drained, reputation under attack. Even the most sacred vault in Rome echoed empty, debt piled like unconfessed sins. The Vatican Bank, once the fortress of Catholic finance, struggled just to stay afloat. Lawsuits, failed investments, political deals gone sour. A global institution meant to guide billions suddenly couldn't guide its own accounts. Enter the silent lenders. They arrived not with halos, but with contracts. Their representatives wore immaculate suits instead of vestments. Holiday Mass looked like a negotiation table. In private chambers, faith met finance, and finance won. The church agreed to something it had never done: borrow money from a single, ultra-consolidated private family network. That lifeline came with strings woven tighter than rosary beads. No headlines, no acknowledgement, zero public credit. Out front, the Vatican sparkled. Behind the curtain, it belonged to its rescuers. Who were these mysterious benefactors? Why keep the bailout secret? What did they demand in return? One clue hides in London, another in Zurich. The final trail leads straight into Rome's holiest offices. Before we unmask them, think power far beyond money. Think influence that outlasts riots, recessions, kings, and revolutions. One dynasty fits that profile like a crown fits a pope. A family known for financing wars, building nations, and toppling empires through ledgers, not armies. Private jets? Child's play. They own governments like chess pieces, quietly, legally, brilliantly. Their signatures have shaped currency itself. This is a financial empire founded centuries ago in European banking houses, spreading across London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples. With every generation, they mastered new economic instruments: hedge funds, sovereign loans, metals, energy. Where money moved, they guided the current. So when the Vatican needed salvation, the church didn't call a bank. It called the bankers of kings. Yes, that family. They agreed to wipe away Vatican debt like chalk from a cathedral blackboard. Not out of charity, not out of faith, out of opportunity. The negotiations were cloaked in secrecy. Ordinary believers never knew. Even many cardinals weren't told. A private deal signed in marble rooms gave this family privileged access to minerals, lands, and political alignment deep inside Italy. Some say even the papal conclave became a boardroom, where influence whispered, "We saved you. Now remember us." That is how a single family came to hold quiet sway over the spiritual capital of the world. Which family member orchestrated it? What leverage do they hold over every pope since? Picture a grand cathedral sealed shut at midnight. Inside, whispers echo off ancient stone. The faith of billions hangs in the balance, not by prayer, but by contract. The church was drowning in debt after decades of internal mismanagement, property issues, and global scandals draining treasure chests that once overflowed with gold from emperors and empires. Their secrets weren't just spiritual, they had a financial cost. Enter the family renowned for rescuing nations from collapse. They knew every trick of global finance. The Vatican did not. A deal was struck that ensured Vatican sovereignty stays untouched publicly. The family acts only behind the curtains. The church avoids disgrace. Repayment would never be spoken of. The Vatican preserved its image. The family gained invisible keys. Those keys unlock assets far more valuable than money. American Catholic leadership influence. Real estate in Rome, hiding centuries of buried history. Art stored in vaults sealed by popes. Access to political alliances stretching from Washington to the European Union. Every handshake came with a string attached, not velvet, wire. The most interesting part. This wasn't the first time. This family has bailed out monarchs, presidents, and entire republics, usually right before they become the most powerful nations on earth. They didn't just save the Vatican, they bought future favors written in holy ink. Who was the mastermind? A man whose ancestors once funded the British Empire, a man whose last name has been tied to conspiracy theories for over 200 years. A name you've certainly heard whispered: Rothschild. Ordinary billionaires crave the spotlight. They race yachts with celebrities, buy sports teams, build skyscrapers with their names in glowing letters. Their power screams. This family whispers. Their influence hides inside. Private banks, not public markets. Family trusts layered like a labyrinth. Ownership by proxy, through shell firms older than some countries. Charitable fronts that move billions under the halo of philanthropy. While the world counts Forbes lists, their wealth swims below radar depth. No flashy tech IPOs, no crypto gambles. Their biggest assets are governments who owe them favors, institutions who can't survive without their credit, cultures shaped by events they quietly funded. Their power grows strongest in chaos. Wars create debt. Debt creates dependence. Dependence writes history. Every headline about conflict or crisis. Somewhere in the shadows sits a bank that profits from both the fall and the rebuild. Not from greed, but from a belief so cold it's almost elegant. Stability is temporary. Control is forever. The Vatican deal wasn't random. It was strategy. One more string added to a global puppet show where the audience never sees the puppeteers. Stay quiet, stay rich, stay inevitable. Among thousands bearing the family name, only one was selected for the Vatican mission. Not the wealthiest heir, not the loudest strategist, a ghost inside his own dynasty. His role, maintain a relationship with the church so quietly that even the Pope might forget it exists. He attends no Met galas. He skips Davos. He refuses interviews. The fewer photos taken, the better. Everything about him is deliberate. He travels through private terminals you can't find on maps. His phone doesn't hold a single social app. He signs deals through handwritten letters delivered by trusted couriers. The Vatican knows him by a title, not a surname. Patronus Verus, the true protector. Rumors among diplomats claim he has a key to a secret archive buried beneath St. Peter's Basilica, where ancient financial instruments and forbidden documents lie dormant. Not religious relics, but records of debts and powers that shaped empires. His mission is simple: keep the Vatican stable, keep the family invisible, keep the world unaware. Only one rule governs this arrangement. The Church never publicly acknowledges the debt. The family never publicly seeks repayment. Everything stays sacred, silent, and sealed. Some say he saved the Vatican. Others say he acquired its soul. The balance between holy authority and hidden wealth nearly shattered a few years ago. A leaked internal document hinted at a massive bailout. It mentioned a foreign private banking interest holding influence over Vatican assets. The media tasted blood. Reporters sharpened headlines. Governments demanded names. For the first time in centuries, sunlight threatened the shadow. Behind closed doors, panic filled marbled hallways. Cardinals debated. Lawyers scrambled. The Pope himself sought reassurance that the Church hadn't traded faith for financial handcuffs. Meanwhile, the invisible banker stood still. No press releases. No denials. Silence, as always, was his strongest armor. Then, as quickly as it surfaced, the leak vanished. Journalists redirected, officials retracted. The world forgot. Someone stepped in with the precision of a surgeon removing a ticking bomb. Entire investigative teams were reassigned overnight. Files disappeared into vaults deeper than any crypt. The public never learned who swooped in or how much it cost to bury the truth again. The crisis faded. The debt remained. The influence only grew. If that single crack had widened, the world might have learned who truly protects the Vatican's throne from crumbling. Two entities rule the world in different currencies. One trades in money, the other trades in souls. When they merge, nothing is impossible. The Vatican continues to preach independence and divine authority. Crowds still gather under the shadow of St. Peter's dome. Pilgrims kneel on polished marble floors, unaware that financial survival flows through a family no one is allowed to acknowledge. The invisible dynasty doesn't need cathedrals or crowns. Their power thrives in contracts written with ink that will never fade. While popes may rise and pass into history, their influence compounds like interest. This alliance set a new global rule. Faith sustains the masses. Money sustains faith. He who controls the money writes salvation's terms. The family doesn't want the Vatican's public throne. They prefer the invisible seat just behind it. A quiet puppeteer doesn't crave applause. Their reward isn't land or titles. It's leverage, access to every kingmaker who seeks blessing, influence over millions who never signed a contract, a place above politics because faith doesn't face elections. History books praise holy miracles. The future might remember financial ones. A dynasty that slips through the cracks of power has ensured that even the church must look over its shoulder, not fearing sin, but debt. If this story made you question who truly runs the world, you're only scratching the surface. Every week we reveal another secret empire, another hidden billionaire, another truth buried beneath centuries of silence. Tap subscribe before the next video disappears. Hit like to expose the shadows to more curious minds. Turn on notifications so you never miss the power plays unfolding behind closed doors. The world is controlled by people whose names never make the news. Together, we're going to uncover them, one mystery at a time. Stay curious, stay alert. The next secret drops soon.